Hello and welcome back everybody, it's time to review My Hero Academia chapter 165, and this chapter was really heavily emphasizing Bakugo as a character in my opinion. I really feel like this arc is also going to be focusing a lot on Bakugo, obviously not only Bakugo, I mean all four of them are gonna get some decent screen time, but I feel like Bakugo is going to be one of those characters in this arc that is going to be getting a lot of spotlight, especially based on his character, because he's the one who's least likely to get along with children because of his personality. You know, he's a very violent guy. He likes to badmouth people and all of those kind of things. So firstly, let's address Bakugo's way with children, because there was one moment where I really got interested, which was when Bakugo addressed the whole situation where his gauntlets were being taken from him by the kids. This is of course something that really showed us a lot more about Bakugo's character, because up until now, you know, he's not really shown that he cares about people or that he really cares about the safety of certain things, because of the fact that he is so confident in his own abilities. But with these children, he actually made sure that these gauntlets were not dangerous, you know, because if he had put them on properly, they would probably have been a lot more dangerous if a child had somehow been able to trigger it. But because they weren't, I guess they couldn't really harm the children in any sort of major way. I mean, they probably have some danger elements still to them, but not on the level that they would have had if he had attached them properly to his arms. So that really gave us the feeling that, you know, deep down he really does care that children and people in general don't get hurt. You know, he doesn't want people to get hurt if there's a way to avoid it. And that is something that we've never really seen from Bakugo before. I mean, yes, he's always been that kind of person, of course, but we've never really seen that on screen, and that's something that really got to me, because, I mean, some of you will know I fucking love Bakugo. He's a great character in my opinion. I think a lot of people will agree that he is one of, if not the best character in the whole series. Now, he's not my personal favorite character quite, but he's definitely my number 2 out of every character in the whole franchise. Secondly, Bakugo knows the situation all too well. He understands the layout of this class, and with these kids, you know, they're unruly and whatnot. They have overrun the teachers even, and the only way to end it is to find the source of the troublemaking of this class. Bakugo refers to this person as a leader of the whole shebang. Now, the teacher does of course say that, you know, she's been overrun, she doesn't know how to recover from this situation, and that's why these children have been brought here, so that Bakugo and the others can lecture them and set them straight, I guess. Bakugo is the only one who seems to understand exactly what this situation is, because he probably was one of those people when he was younger, because we know he's a pretty violent guy. He was always kind of forward going and pretty nasty of a character, as we know from his and Midoriya's past. So I think he kind of looked back into his own past and thought, okay, how do we fix this situation? We need to find the source of whoever is bringing the students together to perform whatever it is that they're doing, you know. In this case, that is tormenting their teachers, trying to be in control and all of that. And Todoroki, he doesn't really see it like Bakugo does, of course, but I'll get to that in a second, because his way of trying to do things are very different from Bakugo's. I have a feeling that the guy who's in charge of this whole thing is the guy that was talking to Bakugo personally, you know, the guy who looks like a young version of Trump, the guy who's standing by the wall telling him, you know, oh, you're so outdated and you're a boring motherfucker. I think that boy is the sort of leader that Bakugo is referring to, because they have been focusing on him a lot, and he's the one who's not really running around being crazy. He's just standing to the wall, observing, you know. It kind of feels like he's an important kid among all of these children. Nearing the end of the chapter, however, we see how Kami, of all people, actually suggests that they should demonstrate their quirks in order to win these children over, and this idea is heavily backed by Bakugo, which just suggests that he knows what he's doing. He wants to set them straight in the only way that he thinks is possible, and that is by showing them their quirks, you know, combat. I mean, they're not going to fucking kill these children, of course, not even gonna hurt them probably, but they're gonna show them their quirks, just how powerful they are, you know, what it means to be a hero. They want to really win the hearts of these kids, and the only way to do that could be to show them just how strong they are by comparison to these children. These children might be so starstruck by their power and whatnot that they will just kneel before them. I don't think that's gonna happen, because that would be ending this arc very quickly. We're definitely gonna see some kind of action going on between the children and Bakugo and the others, because from what we saw at the end of the chapter. But before the end, we actually see how the other three, that is Kami, Inasa and Todoroki, they're also trying to give their shot at winning over the children. I mean, we did see this kind of briefly the last chapter of how they tried their own ways of persuading the children to become friendly with them. Obviously it doesn't quite work. I mean, much like Bakugo, they all have their own obstacles. Like Inasa, he's probably the most successful, but he's not quite successful still. He tries to be friendly with the children, you know, he lifts them up and tells them, you know, you want to be a hero. They're like, oh yes, we want to be a hero. I mean, at that point you think, okay, this guy has got his way already. But then the kids kind of turn it against him, and that's kind of when even he found out that, you know, his attitude is just not going to work. He's a good entertainer, he's a good with kids, I guess, but he's just not ready for what these kids have against him. And the same goes for everybody, even Bakugo, of course. Kami, of course, still has some issues with the female kids, as we saw, because, well, they seem to think that she's trying to seduce the males. I mean, at the end of the day, these kids are just trying to torment Bakugo and the others because of the fact that they want to be in control, you know, much like they wanted with their teacher. They probably want to kind of be in control of Inasa, Bakugo, Kami and Todoroki as well, and that's kind of the whole point of this trial. They have to overcome that. They have to make the children listen to them, not the other way around. Then there's Todoroki. Now this is where things got really interesting, okay? I mean really interesting. And it's not really Todoroki per se, but we see how Todoroki, he is telling Bakugo, you know, you can't be doing this a violent way. You have to take a different approach. And he tries to talk to the children, which is actually not really the way to go about things, as we find out, because he tries to tell them, you know, his sob story. He's still like, oh, you know, I don't like my father. I've been avoiding my father and whatnot. You know, I've been trying to not follow his example. And they're like, yo, you're a fucking boring motherfucker, man. I love that. You know, that he's trying his best to be better than Bakugo, because Bakugo's violent nature was apparently not the right way to go about things. But as Todoroki found out, his way just wasn't any better at the end of the day. And Endeavor then says, and this is where it got interesting, by the way, he says that Todoroki is what Endeavor cannot become, because Endeavor, of course, asked All Might, how do I become the symbol of peace? How do I do what you did? I'm strong, but I just don't have that symbol of peace attitude that you do. And All Might tells him, you can't really copy me. You need to do your own thing. You know, you need to find your own way of becoming your kind of symbol of peace that people look up to. I mean, people look up to him because of his power, I guess. Some people don't, because they feel like his attitude is just too much. And then Endeavor says something along the lines that Todoroki is actually the kind of person who can become both. You know, he has power, as we know. I mean, he didn't say that, but we do know he has a lot of power. And then he also has this gentle attitude, which Endeavor lacks. So I guess Todoroki got this from his mother, which is a good thing in this case, because to be the symbol of peace, you need to both be powerful enough to be able to protect everybody, and you also need to be able to win over people's heart. You know, you need to be a guy that people respect, even if you don't have that power. Like we saw with All Might in last week's chapter, you know, he is in his skinny form. He has no way of fighting. He's no longer a hero even, but people still respect him for the man that he used to be. And that thing is never going to be the case with Endeavor, I feel, because the power is really everything that Endeavor has got going for him. Todoroki one day is, of course, trying to be more All Might, and that's what Endeavor wants. He wants Todoroki to be more the gentle person who can still defend everybody. And that is how he's going to be surpassing Endeavor at the end of the day. Before, we didn't really know what he meant when he said that he wanted Todoroki to be able to surpass All Might and himself. But now I'm starting to get a feeling that what he was talking about is actually that he wanted Todoroki to be more like All Might rather than himself. I mean, he has a really powerful quirk to be able to sort of meet All Might's power in some sense. Obviously, he's probably never going to catch up to All Might's prime, but you know what I'm saying. But then he also has this gentle personality, you know, he has this nice guy attitude going for him, so people will still be able to respect Todoroki if he takes the path of becoming the symbol of peace one day. Now, we of course know that's never really going to happen, because Deku is going to be getting that spotlight eventually, but that is how Endeavor is is looking at the whole situation. Next chapter is going to be quite interesting, I think, because we saw this last panel of the kids preparing their quirks to attack Bakugo, Inasa, Kami, and Todoroki, and then we have Bakugo and everybody else also preparing to defend against them. This is going to be more of a showdown of quirks than anything else, and that's what I really want to see next week. Well, not next week, I think next week's on a break, but the week after that, you know, next chapter at least. That's when things are going to get really interesting, and I hope that this arc really delivers some good chapters, because this could be one of the better arcs in the whole franchise if it's done right. Because we have Todoroki, we have Bakugo, a lot of people like these characters. I like Bakugo a lot personally, so to have this arc become a bad arc would really dissatisfy me, because I really do not want an arc that focuses a lot on Bakugo along with some others to be done poorly, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end this review here. I don't really have much else to say about this chapter. It was a good chapter, not a very action-packed one, but it was very good nonetheless. I'd love to know what you think down below in the comments about this chapter or about this review. And as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. This has been your favorite host, Perm, and I will see you next time.